In today's video, I'll show you a few little tricks to get some really nice fresh greens from your onions and garlic scraps. Hey everyone, it's Frankie-Lou, and I'm coming to you from the kitchen of the Grow Together homestead. Spending a lot of time in here right now because we're going through a really crazy cold snap. And I have two great loves that are my hobbies, and that would be cooking and gardening. Not a lot of gardening going on outside right now, so there's a lot of cooking going on. I am doing some gardening inside for my cooking because I'm kind of frugal. I like to find ways to save a little money here and there, and I also really like fresh herbs and fresh flavors. And one of the best ways to do that is to do a little bit of my own little growing here just in my kitchen on my windowsill. And it helps to add an extra little pop of flavor to some of my foods. Really easy to do as well. Now, Angus and I are also still growing all of our sprouts, and we're growing cat's grass, and we're growing fodder for our chickens and stuff. He's got potatoes growing in his bedroom again this year, and he's doing some experiment with peanuts as well. Now, we're not talking about anything that fancy or anything that complicated. What I'm going to talk to you today about is growing garlic and onion greens. Now, I really love onions. I always have. Angus isn't here today because he doesn't. So he's not very interested in showing us, although he does love watching them grow. So today I'm going to show you 3 different ways that you can get that extra oniony flavor really fresh and for a lot less than what you get at the grocery store. Okay, so first off, I'm going to show you my favorite, and that is garlic greens. Okay, so I grow my own garlic in the garden. This is not the same thing, okay? Garlic that you grow in the garden requires a long time of growth in order to get that bulb developed. In the garden, I usually plant my garlic bulb cloves as late as October or November so that I can have nice garlic in the summertime. It needs a long time. It likes the cold stratification, like the bulbs develop better if it goes through a cold spell. And that's great. I love fresh garlic, but I also, oh, it smells so good. I also really love garlic greens. Now that is what I can do inside the house any time of the year. And honestly, I started doing this by accident because I think it's all happened to us before where we got a garlic clove that we're about to use in the kitchen, and we notice, oh crap, it's starting to sprout. And when garlic starts to sprout, it starts to get a bit bitter. So I generally don't like to use it that way, particularly now that I'm doing this with those. So I only had one garlic head that was sprouting. This is exactly 12 days ago I planted these. And so that's just, and it was actually only five cloves. And so I put 5 cloves in there, and you can see you've got some really nice greens coming up. Now I'm going to use these like you would a chive. Okay, so I'm going to selectively take these off and chop them, use them in dips, use them wherever you would like that nice chivey. They taste a lot like garlic chives. Really nice flavor, not as strong as garlic, but nice and green and still has a garlicky taste. These are more strongly flavored than chives, but they're not as strongly flavored as garlic. And I really love the flavor. Super delicious. I add it as a finisher on top of stir fries. I put it into dips. I just chew on it. Then I have to brush my teeth because it does have a bit of a garlic taste. So super easy to do this. Doesn't require a genius. What I've got here, I've got a nice head of garlic that's starting to sprout. I have a nice little pot of organic potting soil. I'm not going to plant it as sparsely as I did this one because I'm not worried about the root development. I'm only worried about the green development. So I don't need to have a ton of room in here. I'm just going to break this into some pieces and then pop it in the soil so that the top of it is covered. You want the pointy side up. It's like any bulb, right? You want the pointy side up. You don't have to plant it as deep as you normally would plant a clove of garlic because you're not looking for root development. We're looking for green development. All right, well, that wasn't hard, was it? And I'm gonna water this, I'm gonna stick it in the kitchen window. In 12 days, I'll have even more of this, which is great because I'm gonna probably have used this up within 12 days. What I find is that I can usually get a few cuttings off of this, but it's not perpetual, always going, always going, always going. They do peter out, but it's still better than throwing away a garlic clove that you're not gonna use any other way. And honestly, I like this flavor just as much as I like garlic cloves. So when I have to buy garlic from the store, sometimes I will buy a big bag knowing full well there's no way I'm ever going to use all of the cloves that they're going to sprout because I want them to. Okay, so that's one suggestion. I suggest you because they're delicious. If you like garlic and you like things that are crunchy and fresh, why not give it a try? Super, super easy. Now, another thing that I used to do a lot of, just in case you wanted to try something that was soilless, green onions are ridiculously expensive now at the grocery store. Like, it's hard to buy them because I do use so many onions in the garden, and I just use those greens. I don't usually plant green onions, and so to spend $1 on some green onions is hard for me to do. Now, that being said, I like them, so sometimes I do buy them. And when I do buy them, I try to save, I used to try to regrow them a little bit. I've got some nice filtered water in a little mason jar here. I'm gonna cut off about 1.5 inches, I'd say. So this is the thing, if you do this, you're not getting as much of the greens to use for whatever you use your green onions for, like on your taco toppings or your salad. But what you do is you take the pieces like this, about 1.5 inches, and you pop them in the water, okay? And they will, and you put that in your kitchen window, and they will start to grow again. Now, it's super easy, really fun experiment you can do with the kids. One reason I stopped doing this though, and I will warn you, go ahead and try it because it is fun. The water gets slimy, and so can the green onion bits. So I change the water here every couple of days, and as this is growing, if I notice that part of it's getting slimy, I start to remove some of the outer layers, and what'll happen is you'll start to see greens like this coming out of these. Okay, you want to make sure that they're not fully submerged. You want to give them about 1/2 inch to grow up out of the water. And yeah, it's another way you can make your green onions go a little bit further from the grocery store. Like I said, that's something I used to do. Still fun to do every once in a while. But what I prefer to do is pretty much what I did with the garlic, I do with onions. You can buy onion sets at this time of the year. And it's a little bag of little mini onions that are intended to go out in the garden. Can't do that yet, but you could use them to grow your own green onions the same way I did this. Now the green onions, the ones that I'm using here are actually some of my great little onions that just didn't develop very well last year because I grew so many onions, and I still have some little onions that I pulled up. So I'm not having to buy sets to do this method yet, but this is my last handful. So I'm hoping that the sets will be available soon so that I can continue to grow my own little green onions in the kitchen before I put them out, before it's time to put them out in the garden. You got your little green onion set, or if you're lucky like me, you still have some tiny little onions that you didn't pickle from last year. Same thing, pop them in the soil, okay? They don't have to be as deep as you would normally put an onion. They don't have to be as far apart. I usually try to keep them about 1 inch apart in this case, 1 inch to 1.5 inches. So I'm gonna get 6 of them in this pot. All right, I'm gonna start watering this. I find they're not quite as fast as the garlic to go, but I do know that I'll start getting shoots coming up. And what I do is I just snip a few off here, a few off there. Once again, because they're not getting an opportunity to really develop that root in this tiny little thing, it's not going to be perpetually creating new greens. It will peter out. But in the meantime, I probably am going to, from 6 little set onions, which probably cost 10 cents to buy or 50 cents to buy, I'm going to have 4 times the amount of greens that I would get from a $1 thing of green onions, right? So, and it's fresher. I'm cutting it and I'm putting it in my salad immediately. And we all know when you grow it and you eat it right away, it tastes good, better for 2 reasons. A, because you did it yourself, and we all know pride tastes good. And B, it's super, super fresh. So I hope that was helpful. Just another little way that we're trying to deal with the planet Hoth that we're living on right now with all the cold and the snow, and a way of bringing a little more green inside the house, and a little more freshness to the flavors in our kitchen. So give it a try. I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to ask questions in the comments. Subscribe if you're interested in more of the stuff that we're doing. We're going to be planting some milk jugs again next week, so that'll be exciting. And I hope you'll take this chance to grow together today. Have a good one, everyone.